Welcome back. Let's kick off with story number 1. Opie writes, My husband has kept a semi-regular journal throughout our 4-year relationship. He does not keep it hidden, and up until now I have always respected his privacy. We had a heated conversation, and my gut told me to read it. So after he left for work, I did. He wrote several times that he hates me, and at one point he said when I was sick, he hoped I would die. When I read those words, I packed up me and our baby and went to a friend's where I'm staying now. I took pictures of all the pages. I told him I just need some space to cool off after our conversation and I will be home soon. I booked with my therapist and contacted a lawyer. We had a rough patch recently that lasted about 2 weeks. It was a dark time, but we pulled through. There was no violence, no moments where I was afraid of him, just sincere conversations about difficult feelings. The notes of hatred correspond with that rough patch. The rest of the journal is tame and reflects the man I know and love. Mostly little self-pep talks around work and family stuff, goals, habit tracking. He has sent me several warm messages since I left. He says he's glad I'm taking space for myself, that he looks forward to reconnecting when I come home. It's okay to have little hiccups, that he loves me, etc. I was sure our relationship was over the moment I read that he hates me, or even the moment I felt the need to violate his privacy. But the warm messages and the rest of the journal have me wavering a little. I understand the need to blow off steam when things are tense, and journaling is a healthy way to do that. But never, in even our darkest moments, have I fantasized about his death. Splitting up maybe, but this feels so sinister. I don't know how I could ever feel safe around him again. Is this just healthy venting, and am I overreacting here? Has anyone else had similar thoughts about a spouse that they then got over? Or is this a man I need to protect myself and my baby from? Edit to add context. The rough patch was about his feelings for another woman. He didn't cheat, but his friendship with her makes me uncomfortable. The part of the journal where he says he hates me was written as a love letter to her. He says he thinks about me dying and being replaced. Here's the first of OP's updates. I hope I'm doing this right. Thank you so much for all the advice and words of encouragement. Some of it was tough to read, but still deeply appreciated. Wanted to do an update because a lot of people were concerned for my safety. I took a commenter's advice and sent the pictures to a trusted friend. She pointed out that the passage I initially read as "every day I think about telling her" actually very clearly says "killing her." I guess my brain couldn't comprehend that at first. I received a ton of helpful perspective and support, but that comment in particular might have saved my life. After I digested that, I called a crisis line, and they were quite helpful in talking me through the shock. They also put me in touch with a center that's helping me get more affordable legal help. Bought some more time from my husband, told him I'm enjoying getting out of town and I'd like to stay an extra night or 2. I have therapy tomorrow and an appointment with a social worker to make a safety plan. I feel like I have a good crew of family, friends, and professionals supporting me. Absolutely zero regrets now about reading his journal. My gut told me something was off, but I couldn't have imagined a worst-case scenario as bad as this. I'm so glad the inner alarm bells were louder than my conscience this time. Nothing about this marriage is worth risking my life to salvage. And here's OP's second update. Just want to say a huge thank you to this community for helping me through a challenging time. Your comments and messages have been such a comfort, and I'm so touched by the kindness of internet strangers. At the suggestion of the social worker, I reported his journal to the local police, and that was, unsurprisingly, a 1 out of 10 experience. The officer I spoke to chided me for reading his journal, spoke about his reasonable expectation of privacy, and basically threatened to tell my husband I had reported him. I had to firmly advocate for myself and stress that I was afraid for my life. It was an awful conversation, but now there is at least a record which includes photos of the journal. My family lawyer I spoke with advised me to file a protection order right away. The order would ban him from all contact with me and our child, bar him from our residence, my workplace, and any other places I request. He would then have to prove to a judge that he is a fit parent to be able to see his daughter again, and then we would go to mediation to try and agree on what visitation would look like. Another wrench in this situation is that we own a business together. I have an appointment with another lawyer this week to discuss what my options are there. The business was my idea. I'm confident I can run it without him, and I want to. But he's put a lot of time into it, and it's the main source of income for both of us right now. It's a good money maker, and I'm worried he'd fight me tooth and nail on this. We take turns going in, so I went as usual on Saturday with a friend and a baseball bat. I continued my act of intending to reconcile, doing video calls with a baby, etc. While I was at our workplace, I found another journal, page after page, love letters to this other woman going back months. The progression from "I like seeing you at the grocery store" to "I drove past your house today" was wild. He writes about how he's deeply in love with her, can't wait to marry her, etc. He wrote about every interaction he's ever had with her, and the poor woman seems completely innocent and oblivious. Even what he perceived as flirting seems like basic politeness. He mentions a few other times that he wants me to die. The most recent entry was from the day before. He writes to her that he thinks I might be breaking up with him, but that's fine because he never liked me that much anyway. If he's upset about anything, it's just about losing the house and how the breakup will be perceived by our friends and community. Curious if people think I should warn the other woman. It's my instinct not to. At least not before the ink dries on our impending paperwork. I was already concerned about how he might react to being served with a protection order. Most worried that he might try to sabotage our business or trash the house. Given how preoccupied he seems to be with his public image, I made a plan to confront him about the journals and use the protection order as leverage. Here's how it went down. I left the journal and my baby with my friend and went to our house with 2 trusted male friends and the baseball bat. They waited on the porch. I told my husband that if they heard anything louder than a speaking voice, they would come in with the bat. I told him I had to tell him something he wouldn't like to hear, and he needed to know that I had already taken steps to protect myself. I told him I read the journals, specifically what he said about wanting me to die and thinking every day about killing me. I said I had taken photos, that they are backed up, and a trusted source also has copies, that I also have the original copy of the journal full of love letters. I wondered until this moment if he had intended for me to find them, but he was obviously blindsided. He tried to say it was just venting, but I told him I would not be taking any chances or entertaining anything he has to say about it. That after reading what I read, I will never trust him or feel safe around him ever again. I told him that no one that knows him knows about this yet. The men on the porch just know that I'm breaking up with him and need support. This was true, aside from the friend that I called to stay with and the other friend I sent the photos to, who lives on the other side of the country. I said I'm willing to protect his reputation here if he cooperates with me. I told him that I don't even have to ruin his chances with the other women, but I can. I said that he can either do what I need to feel safe, or I can have that safety court ordered. He asked what I wanted, and I said I wanted him to give up the business. We'll sort out the details after I speak to the other lawyer, but for now I want his keys, and I'll be changing the passwords on everything. He didn't put up any kind of fight. He didn't even want to hear anything about what it would look like to go through the courts. He didn't ask about our baby. He just calmly got up and got the keys and asked if I wanted anything else. I told him that any communication with me should be about separation logistics only, like arranging a time for me to collect the rest of my things. Since then, he has been blowing up my phone, saying I know his heart. Let's walk back from the edge. Let's talk to a therapist. He's sorry his words hurt me, etc. Each time, I just tell him he's crossing my boundaries and he backs off. He apparently told his mom and sister everything, and they're supporting him in getting help. He's being cooperative so far. He's interviewing for a new job, seeing a therapist, and updating me on his movements, though I didn't ask for this. I've temporarily moved in with my parents. My commute to work is longer, but I have help with baby and home-cooked dinners, starting to settle into new routines, doing so much therapy and yoga. I inherited a small cabin before my husband and I met. It is currently being renovated, and the original plan was to move in there with my husband and baby when it's done. The cabin is actually in my mother's name because she never trusted my husband. Correct. And wanted me to shield it from him in case of a divorce. Thank you, Mom. So I will have a permanent home for me and baby very soon. The dust still needs to settle, and it could get worse before it gets better, but I'm optimistic at this point. I'm confident I'm going to come out the other side of this as a badass single mom with an incredible child, a thriving business, and an adorable little home. Honestly, the thought of having all those things on my own without my husband is so freeing. I've got a great village supporting me. Thank you all so much for being part of it. Let's get a comment with a reply from Opie. Comment. It takes a week just to make the appointments sometimes. Lawyers, therapists. But protection orders can come quickly. Please tell us this is real, that you didn't lie to us. Opie replies, it is all unfortunately real. For anyone else in a similar situation that might be reading this, in my area there is a legal center that holds space for emergency appointments every day at 2 p.m. Protection orders are processed the same day they are filed. That's my understanding. I didn't actually file one yet. As far as a therapist, I have one I see regularly. So I already had an appointment on the books. After speaking with me, my therapist opened up an additional weekend appointment because I obviously needed the extra support. My goodness, Opie, I can just imagine opening that journal and reading it and seeing all these ugly things and these scary things that your husband wrote. And I don't believe that it was just venting because you say he says it more than once and then he wrote it in the other journal as well. And he seems really obsessed with this other woman. Now, people in the comments did say that you shouldn't tell the other woman because that could put you in danger. And I think they're right on that. You need to take care of yourself and your baby first. Other than that, I don't really feel I can give you advice here because you really need professionals to help you. You need to be very, very careful, Opie. I think be as fair and as reasonable as possible when it comes to dividing assets and focus more on what you need to do to stay safe and to keep your daughter safe as well. Is scary what he wrote. And even if you can take everything from him, Opie, I just don't think it's wise to do that. My worry for you is that if he loses everything, that'll go from fantasy to something he actually starts to plan. But once again, Opie, this is something you really need to discuss with professionals to know what your rights are, how to keep yourself safe, as you've already been doing. Just keep on taking those steps. Safety first. On to story number 2. Opie writes, I, 34 female, was involved with Adam, 34 male, for 4 months. We are in a unique situation where we work together in a remote location. So over this time, we often saw each other multiple times a day. He pursued me and I wasn't sure about getting involved with him at first, due to our work/living situation and fundamental incompatibilities, including living across the country from one another and him having children from a previous marriage that he didn't have much of a relationship with. Despite my uncertainties, we developed a strong bond and became a couple. We agreed that once our contract was up and left this place, that we wouldn't be romantically involved. However, we feel for each other anyway, and we exchanged I love yous shortly before our contract ended, and we went our separate ways. We texted for 2 days before he unexpectedly blocked me on social media and ghosted me. Our last text exchange was about our days, and that we missed each other. Nothing to indicate that he didn't want to keep in touch. I'm left wondering if it was all a lie. Other than his phone number and Instagram, I have no connection to him, and I don't know anyone in his life. I'm replaying our conversations in my head. He never indicated that we would see each other after we left. although I mentioned visiting each other more than once. That time he drunkenly texted me that he loved me after only knowing each other 2 months. That text was meant for someone else, wasn't it? Did he have a wife or girlfriend this entire time? How could I be such a fool? I'm not sure what I'm expecting from this post, because you all can't answer any of the questions swirling around in my head. I'm just hurt, confused, and spiraling. What the actual F? Edit. I got confirmation from his friend here that he was in a relationship the entire time. It was all a lie. Multiple people knew and didn't say a word to me. This has completely effed with my head. Edit 2. If you are one of those people that are an internet detective, please DM me. I want to tell his wife. Edit 3. Found who I believe is his wife online. Couldn't find a marriage certificate, but there is enough circumstantial evidence for me to be pretty sure. Sent her a message with screenshots of our texts. Let's burn this crap to the ground. Here's OP's update. I've never been involved in so much drama in my life. I video chatted with his wife last night. He was in the room with her. She knew before I sent the message that he cheated. She found the Valentine's Day card I had written him in his luggage. She started by telling me that from what I have written in that card, I clearly didn't know him. No crap. That she knew he was a liar and a cheat. He told her he was just using me and that there was nothing romantic on his end. She apologized for his behavior and asked him if he had anything to say for himself. I saw him briefly on the call, but that coward just looked away. I told her that I was sorry this happened to her too, that I hope she makes the right decision for herself, and that I would not be contacting him again. She was clearly hurt, but I'm glad I told her. I'm hoping I can put this all to rest. The icing on this effed up cake is that I signed a second contract, and I'm stuck in this remote place for another 7 months. It's a small community, and I have to see his friend, who enabled Adam's cheating, daily. It's out, and a bunch of people now know. How do I deal with this? Oh, and just a warning to anyone thinking of cheating. It's amazing what you can find online these days. He had nearly 0 web presence, but I was still able to find not only his wife, but his mother, in-laws, siblings, and home address. And I'm not even that tech-savvy. Well, OP, at least you got to the truth, and, well, now his wife knows as well. I'm wondering if all these people that didn't say anything to you, is it possible that some of them at least thought that you knew and that you were okay with it and they just, well, were minding their own business? You know the truth and you're out of it and, well, this guy's still stuck with himself. And, well, hopefully his wife isn't going to be stuck with him much longer, because I'm sure you were not the first. I mean, I don't really know even what's worse. For him to admit to his wife he was just using you, or for him to have said, well, you know, I fell in love with this person, but it's over now. Both of those things just sound bad, but I was just using this person, I don't know, that just sounds so much worse to me. Anyway, OP, I hope the next 7 months over there in that small community, that remote area, location you're at, I hope it goes really fast for you, and that you'll soon be able to just move on from all of this. So that's it for this edition of Wild Drama Stories. Please leave a comment, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing. And I'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye.